Kripa. Thank you so much for joining us today. And, I'm a big fan of your website. Not vegan or vegetarian, but I really appreciate all the recipes you come up with, especially because they're 15 minutes or less. And, especially like when I'm a jam, I'll definitely go there and try and see if I can cook something from there. So can you tell me a bit about yourself and, how you came about with the idea of this blog?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's amazing to have this chat with you today and share with you a little bit about my journey. So 15-minute mom kind of happened by accident. And I think as most good things do happen by accident. I don't think I had any idea of where I was going with it initially. My background's in organic chemistry, so I studied organic chemistry, and then I went off and did a master's in carbohydrate chemistry, which, funny enough, is nothing to do with food. It may sound, the minute you say carbohydrates, it may sound like it is food related, but it isn't.
What do they do with that? I'm just curious. What do they do with that master? I actually have never heard of that before.
So organic chemistry in the field that I specialized in was more directed more towards the medical field.
Okay.
And I was synthesizing septinoids, basically. So I wrote papers that, published papers on septinoids, which are, have various applications within the field of medicine. And yeah, I mean, nothing food related, let's put it that way. But having said that, I have to say that having that critical eye, having that capacity of reading papers and researching, because obviously there's a lot of research involved in my degree, I look at food in a very different way. I look at food in a more functional way. I look at food in terms of its nutritious value. I look at food in terms of the benefits it has in our body. And I like to, all the bodily functions fascinate me beyond belief. So so that's kind of, I guess it started from a bit of that, my passion. And then being a mom of three, you think that you know it all, and you start feeding your children the most staple kids food that you're told are kids. As a first timer, foods that they like, finger foods and fried foods and chips and anything that they like goes. But then I came to a realization very quickly, especially with my first child. I think the second also had that, and the third probably doesn't, because I've been so much more cautious with what I feed them. But my first child had something very simple and very common called constipation. And constipation in children is far common than any of us could imagine. And 1/3 of the children tend to have it and don't even know. Parents don't realize that their children are constipated because they still go to the toilet, but they do suffer from stomach aches. And my eldest did suffer from stomach aches. And I thought that, I don't believe in eliminating food groups. And I had to really then embark on a journey of learning about food groups, lactins, allergens, all these things, because I needed to figure out, why was this child suffering from such severe stomach aches? And when I say severe, it would be to the point where in the evenings she couldn't sleep. She'd be holding her stomach and like crunching. And, we had done all the tests, pediatricians, everything, all of the things that a parent would do. And then I did come across a pediatrician that said, well, I think you might want to get her off gluten. And that's where it triggered alarm bells, because that was the common thing that people would tell you. You would go to a doctor and they would try and eliminate dairy or gluten or the big allergens, the big lectins. And I need to know the why of everything. It's the scientist in me. And that's where I kind of embarked on this well-being journey, and I learned about food, I learned about processing, I learned how our gut works. The gut fascinates me, and there's so much more. I know it's a very new kid on the block, but there is so much incredible research nowadays in the gut, and still it's an ever-growing science in itself. It's become a journey for me, and I'm sharing this journey with everybody. So I'm sharing my recipes of making vegetables interesting, because fiber is basically in plant-based food. So I was raised as a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. I still kind of need my eggs here and there sometimes, and I love my cheese. So that's probably the two things that I would really struggle giving up. I would love to, but I'm yet to find a really good vegan cheese. So that's my excuse at the moment. But I do believe that children, you know, if they, I don't have this obsession with you know, you need to be vegan or you need to be vegetarian, all these titles and all these flexitarian, this, that, these are all just names. Food, at the end of the day, if it's good quality food and has benefits in your body, it's great. But in terms of constipation, which is such a common thing, it's fiber. We need fiber in our body, and fiber only comes from plant-based foods. So when I say plant-based, I say, you know, legumes, beans, pulses, so that sort of group. We're talking about seeds, we're talking about fruits and vegetables, we're talking about spices, we're talking about, I mean, a range, nuts, seeds. All these foods are plant-based, you know, plant-based milks, soya. So I really had to dive into it all and became so passionate about it that 15-Minute Mom sort of kind of emerged within this learning process that I was going through. And I felt the need to share these recipes with parents because parents didn't really know how to make vegetables exciting for kids and didn't know how to make vegetables exciting for themselves. It's very easy with the protein, whether it's animal or not, you know, it's, you know, grill a piece of chicken or some fish or whatever is, you know, what my friends would turn to me and say, well, now what do I do with veggies? I just steam them. I just this, I just that. And I said, okay, I'm going to create this platform and share with you guys what I do at home and how I hide my veggies and make them fun for children and for myself, because I don't want to be making 2 different meals. I don't want to be in the kitchen for 1 hour. I just want to be like 15 minutes in and out. And that's how it all started.
So, you know, I actually have a whole bunch of questions. First one is, when did the actual platform start? Did you start off just initially with a, you know, sending your recipes to your friends over email, or did it go from, no, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly? Did Instagram, you know, all the social media handles, and how long has it been?
Okay, so I started, my intent was sharing with my friends because I was fed up of sending WhatsApps. I didn't want to create another group, and also I didn't want to.
We love those groups.
Questions and, you know, but I've always been a reference. I've always been a sharer. People tend to come to me naturally because I have no hesitation in sharing, whether it's the deepest, darkest secret or the best trick on earth. I'm a sharer. So people know that about me, and everybody within my neighborhood knows me really well, and surrounding neighborhoods, because I also, in the midst of all this, did run an events company. So I did pretty much every parties. Every child's birthday party went through me. And so I made great connections, and people tend to see me as the mom reference. So I felt, okay, I'm kind of tired of having to message people individually. I'm going to create something. Social media was just about buzzing at that time, Instagram especially. And I thought, I'm going to try and figure this out and see if this is a good platform to share with my friends. And that's what I thought I was doing. I was sharing with my friends. It was called Kripa's Food. And then I think pretty much 3 years back. So I started about 4 years back, but maybe 3 years back, a year into it, it started growing organically, and more parents, carers, and funny enough, busy individuals, like students, university students follow me and thank me because they want to go to their local supermarket, buy easily accessible produce and be able to produce a meal in 15 minutes because they, like me, don't want to spend more than 15 minutes in the kitchen. They don't actually have patience or time for that. They'd rather hang out with their friends, right? So it ended up becoming a reference of very easy way of creating nourishing dishes. So it's about 4 years old, with that sort of 1 year of experimenting and not knowing where it was going. And then it really grew organically. And then I decided, okay, maybe I need to brand it because I started working with food brands, and maybe I need to have some form of trademark on this. But it's still a journey at the moment for me. I still don't really know where I'm going. I'm still so in love with what I'm doing and enjoying it. And I'm constantly recreating myself. But I do think having the third child contributed to this sort of shift of careers and turning into blogging, because I thought, right, life ends now, 3 children. How am I going to ever work?
Wow. I mean, firstly, looking at your social media platforms and looking at your website, you could never tell. Everything is so tastefully done. The graphics, everything is absolutely beautiful. So definitely
Oh,
wanted to share that with you. I mean, that was one of the things when I saw that, I'm like, wow, look at the logo from 15-Minute Mom to the content and the fact that you strayed true.
and it's probably the
Yeah.
reason why it's taken me 4 years to be where I am, because I'm a one-man band. I do it all by myself. I do all my edits. I do all my photos. You know, I'd love to seek professional help, but I feel like nobody's on that same wavelength as me. But maybe because, again, it could be, you know, a bit of a control freak and perfectionist, if I may call myself. And yeah, it's taken longer, this journey, than maybe other food bloggers sometimes, if I were to look at how they progress, because I'm taking it at my stride and I'm doing it all on my own.
And the thing is, from, you know, based on the introduction that you just gave, you just don't take a recipe as is. Okay, I'm sure when the you know, the trend started for cauliflower, which was what, probably 2 years ago, it really, I mean, in the States it got really big about 2 years ago. um I don't know if you always use cauliflower rice, but I'm sure if you looked at that ingredient, you wanted to probably know about what the nutritional value is and how, you know, there's different ways of cooking it. I mean, is that how you do it, or you just already know about, you know, things like cauliflower rice?
No, absolutely not. I mean, do you know what, the most senior doctors will not know about everything, right? So we all need to, right, research in the field of nutrition, especially, is constant. And if you look back at maybe a couple of decades back, where fat was frowned upon, and now you look as fat as part of a keto diet, the essential part, you know, essential building block to neuron function and brain function. And so fats suddenly become essential. Back in the day, people would say, oh my God, low fat, everything low fat. Now we know otherwise, that low fat actually is terrible. You've just added a whole load of sugar into the product. Yeah. So it is constant. The more we learn, the more we research, the more clinical research is done. It's constantly evolving. So medicine, nutrition, all of these fields are sort of neck and neck, and they are evolving. So I have to constantly read up about it. I have to constantly learn about it. As a trend comes up, I will research it thoroughly, and I'll try and read papers as I do. You know, I try not to read blogs. Not that I don't, you know, I don't think blogs could be correct. They can, absolutely, but the scientist in me is always going to want to read research papers or books that are written by doctors, and sort of, yeah, you know, go down that field. So if cauliflower trend comes up, I'm totally going to look up what's the nutritionist? Why are we so obsessed with cauliflower? What are the benefits? How could it work for my body? So yeah, constantly learning.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as I mentioned, I'm not vegetarian, but it still intrigues me how, as a species, we drink another species' milk. And especially with South Asians or Desis, so many of us have that lactose intolerant gene. And I think more and more, even within the community in the States I'm part of, a lot of people are going to, you know, almond milk, or people who actually, unfortunately, in the States, for some reason, I actually wanted to bring that ask a question about it in a minute. There's a lot of nut allergies as well. So, you know, a lot of people are now going to oat milk, or I heard of pea milk. I don't know if that's a big thing in England, but
it's coming, pea milk. You know, genetically, and this is just a fun fact, genetically, Asian people are more prone to lactose intolerance, just the way we're built. All these intolerances and allergies are down to the gut. And the way that our gut, so we're not born with our gut microbiome or microbiota. It's almost like an acquired organ, if I were to call it. And as soon as a baby's born, the first exposure to bacteria, I mean, we are more bacteria than cells, by the way. Our human body is more bacteria. We have trillions of bacteria in our intestinal tract. And the baby's born, and the first exposure to bacteria is that push out of the mom. And then the second immediate intake of bacteria is through the milk, through mom's milk. And the breast milk has it's brilliant because it's got prebiotics and probiotics. So it's very filled with very good bacteria. That's why people tend to always say breast milk is best. But unfortunately, that is not possible for everybody. And it's hard for a lot of moms. And that pressure obviously isn't great. But so that gut microbiome has to grow and has to be nourished. And that's the hardest thing. And when that doesn't happen, because the information isn't there, or because it's so difficult for moms to get that sort of nourishment into their children, that gut becomes sensitive. And that sensitivity then manifests in the sort of allergies and, intolerances, and it's really interesting because we're really not allergic and intolerant to, not many people are. We have sensitivity, definitely, but all of that can be cured through food. And it's interesting that you're saying people, it's again a myth to think that drinking a cow's milk is going to give you your calcium that you need and protein and etc. But we forget it also has lactose in it, and but there are so many other forms of calcium that you can get. I mean, broccoli has a lot of calcium in it, as an example. So luckily now we can bust these myths and know that maybe a glass of soy milk is going to give you, unsweetened, the same. So 2 glasses of soy milk actually is going to give you your daily intake of protein.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's again something that people need to get their heads around. We have this obsession with protein. Am I getting enough protein? Especially when you're moving to a plant-based diet. Yes, absolutely necessary, but all of them are necessary. Protein, carbohydrates, fiber, essential for absorption of everything. It's almost like you saying, well, I eat really healthy, but if you don't have the right fiber in your body and you're not consuming those vitamins in the correct way and your gut is not healthy, you're not absorbing any of that. So it's kind of popping a pill and coming out kind of situation.
Yeah, that makes sense because I have relatives that, moved over from India and they had no allergies. And they come to the US and literally they have become so intolerant to food. There's so many food groups they can no longer eat. So, based on just research I've done, and because obviously, this person's quite close to me, and it was just fascinating to me to realize how much of environment makes a difference to your gut and the bacteria and all of these things that have to work in balance with each other.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sadly in the US, and no different in the UK, but the industry is pumping ultra processed foods. There is too much of it, and people don't realize the damage it does to the gut, and therefore all these things happen, like irritable bowel syndrome and leaky gut, and all these symptoms are happening because of the type of food we're consuming. And that's why 15-Minute Mom is great, because I bring real food. I use real food. I always say that a food that doesn't have a label, that doesn't have nutrition facts in it, is real food. Anything else is processed. So that is sort of rule of thumb. And people that don't have intolerances will end up with intolerances because they're killing their gut microbiota. They're killing their microbes. Those trillions and trillions of bacteria living inside need to be fed, and they can only be fed through fiber. That's what they feed on.
Yeah, and I think that's what sometimes people don't understand. You need bacteria in your body to function as well. Everything has to be in balance. So you mentioned earlier about fat and keto. So is it possible to be on a keto plant-based diet?
It is. I think that it's very difficult because I have done the keto diet. In fact, I'm a bit of a serial dieter. I like to try diets before I can even talk about them. So I think I've tried pretty much everything. I've tried all the diets that you can imagine. I have tried the keto diet, and it definitely works for weight loss. No doubt about it. It is again a diet. It's a temporary measure. And if you then if you're not cautious, you can bounce back very quickly. But keto sadly has a bit of a bad rap as well, because it does kill a bit of your gut. It kills a lot of your bacteria because it lacks in fiber. Keto is very high in fat, medium in protein and very low in carbohydrates. But sadly, what happens there is that when you deprive yourself of carbohydrates, and vegetables are carbohydrates, fruit is carbohydrates, so keto is a complete no-no with fruit, like absolutely not, which again, it's not essential. And it does allow a couple of green veggies, but eating the rainbow and eating a healthy variety, there are about 100 types of plant-based foods, and you need those 100 types of plant-based foods to have a really healthy.
100 type? Are you just saying fruits and vegetables, or am I missing something else here?
We're talking about nuts, seeds, okay, spices, herbs. All these are plant-based foods. Yeah. Okay. So for those trillions, we're talking about trillions of bacteria, they all feed on different things. They all need different nourishment. So it's very difficult to get all of that in. So you have to maximize and eat as varied as possible to be able to have that healthy gut. But I think I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now, but keto diet, I really don't believe in restrictive diets.
Okay.
And through my learning and my yo-yoing in weight, I realized why these diets don't work. And when people say, well, diets are not sustainable, they're not sustainable. But I have a different view on what I do, which is intermittent fasting. And that to me, it's not a diet in any way. It is a lifestyle, and it is a lot more sustainable. In fact, I do intermittent fasting day in, day out. It's a lot easier to mentally accept it as well, because you don't necessarily have to deprive yourself from your favorite foods. I'm a strong believer in mental stress around food and disorders and resentments and putting certain foods on a pedestal, especially for children, because the minute you say that's a treat, you've put that food on a different pedestal, and that becomes something much more desired. And you're going to say, you can't have that cake, only on treat days, which we all do as parents. I'm guilty. We all do that. No, you can't have the chocolate today. So you've immediately given that importance to that. But cutting things out does have a mental impact on us as human beings, and stress around food actually causes more damage to the gut. There is clear evidence now that about the gut-brain axis, and how our gut is connected to our brain. And when I mean connected, is literally connected. There is a connection, let's call it pole, that takes all the information from your gut to your brain. So the minute you're stressed, that's going to affect your gut. It's going to affect the rest of your body. So I really don't believe in keto to the extreme. Again, even with plant-based, it's possible, but a diet just high in fats is going to be a diet lacking in something else. So and again, it's far harder, going back to your question, to be a plant-based, being on a plant-based keto diet. Possible, but far harder. Right.
That makes sense. So you said you do intermittent fasting. I do have I know, I want to be cognizant of your time. Just how long are you on and off for? Like, how long do you eat for, and how long do you fast for?
Okay, so again, because I'm such a strong believer in you have to do what feels right for you and listen to your body. I always say to everybody, listen to your body. If your body's saying to you, you're starving, or your body's saying to you, you need that piece of chocolate, depriving it is creating that mental stress that you may not feel the impact physically, but it is a mental stress because you've deprived yourself of something. So I try to do Monday to Thursday. And Sunday to Thursday. Usually I'm out on a Thursday night. Not usually, sorry. Occasionally I'm out on a Thursday night, but usually I'm out on a Friday night, and most likely I'm out on a Saturday night. So those days, what I do then is I look at the impact of insulin. So rather than doing it, we know intermittent fasting is a time restricted diet, not a food restricted diet. But combined with knowing a little bit about blood sugar levels and how food and carbs react in your body, it really helps me to then balance my insulin and let my insulin clear from my body. So I've had a really hefty meal on a Friday night, been out with my friends. I will probably not eat the rest of Saturday. And once your body gets used to that, there is no starvation whatsoever at all. You do not feel like you're hungry because you've learned how to eat the right way. I make sure that my meals are, my plate is packed with I call it the fuel 4. okay, which is protein,
Mm-hmm.
fat, fibers, and greens, okay? And the reason why I sort of separate the fibers and the greens is because your beans are also fiber and they're not green, or your nuts are fiber and they're not green. So as long as every meal has these four in balance, it's very difficult for you to feel hungry because they're fueling. These foods are the fueling foods, fat especially. So fat is the only thing that will not convert into blood sugar. It's the only carbohydrate tool. Protein in excess will. So there's a caveat to protein. Protein in moderate, in sort of the recommended dose, daily dose, is not going to turn into glucose, but anything over that will, because your body, the minute it doesn't know what to do it. Fat is incredible that way. That's why keto is so successful, you know, as a diet for people that follow through, but then obviously has that loophole that you can fall right back to where you were as soon as you start eating carbohydrates. Getting back to your question again, I'm off. I'm so, you can tell my passion. I'm like, I'll go on and on how passionate.
Honestly, I'm super excited talking to you. I mean, my background's in science, I have a graduate degree in biotechnology, but the fact that you're just, you know, when I make a recipe and put it on my blog, it's because it tastes good. But the fact that you take the extra work, not only does it make it taste good, you know, it obviously looks gorgeous. As I said, your blog is amazing, but also to understand what it does to your body, that's just, yeah, that's great. And it's fascinating to hear all of that. And without talking to you today, I wouldn't have realized that your blog was so much more than just recipes.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, it has become more and more. So as I've grown and evolved, my blog is growing and evolving towards that as well. So it reflects a lot in my recent posts. I talk a lot about intermittent fasting. So it wasn't initially, it was just the recipes, although I knew in the background everything, all the information. But as I grew more confident and as I learned and embarked on all these sort of projects, and you know, I'm studying food science with Harvard University at the moment. And so as I'm studying, I'm getting more and more confident about the research that I'm doing. And so I feel more confident in sharing as well.
Excellent. So I had a couple of questions that are super easy. What is your you know, favorite recipe to make? Like if someone says, hey, we're coming over, Kripa, and they know that you're the go-to person for that recipe, what is it?
Ooh, tricky. There's loads, but I think my black bean and beetroot burger is definitely a popular in this household.
Okay.
And I love that combination of black beans and beetroot. It's great. Iron, vitamin C combination there that you wouldn't expect. Great in fiber. But it's probably neck and neck with my broccoli-based pizza, which is something I make quite often. And it's very similar to the trendy cauliflower pizza, but easier and quicker and tastier, because cauliflower can have a bit of a bitter aftertaste, whilst cauliflower doesn't. So those two, I would say, are neck and neck.
Excellent. And what would you say if you were stuck alone, you know, on an island, and you could take one plant-based item and 2 spices with you, what would they be?
Definitely dark chocolate. I would go with my Lindt 90%, which is what I have. I cannot live without chocolate. In fact, my bio says I fast and eat chocolate.
Lindt 90%.
Definitely turmeric and black pepper. I think turmeric for me is the best spice that we have out there in terms of its sort of antioxidant and antibacterial, antimicrobial. I mean, every property that you can imagine, anti-inflammatory. And not many people know, I think more so now, is that the potency of curcumin, which is what you have in turmeric, is only enhanced to have the benefits, or to give you the benefits, if it's combined with black pepper. So I would say those two, which means that I could probably live on this island freely with no medication, no hospitals, but still have my turmeric and black pepper to keep me safe.
That makes sense. So just you know, does it have to be black pepper, or can it be white pepper?
That's a good question. The component that is in black pepper is pepperin. I mean, kind of sounds obvious, but it's the pepperin with the curcumin. I actually haven't looked into, that's a really good question, because I haven't actually looked into how much pepperin is in white pepper. So I will definitely have a look into that.
Because I add white pepper to a lot of my, Asian, dishes that are like Chinese or like egg rolls or something. So I was just curious to know that. And my last question is, what is your favorite plant-based item besides from like straight food? What's your favorite like sweet recipe?
Sweet recipe. So I mean, I love sweets. I love sweets. I probably will say I'm more of a savory if I had the choice. Dark chocolate, as I mentioned, is my weakness, and it's definitely dark. I really don't fancy milk chocolate or sugary chocolate. I find it really sweet. But I do like making nice cream, which is, banana based. It's a homemade ice cream. So it's, peanut butter, banana, frozen bananas, obviously. And that's probably with, chocolate chips or this, whatever I want to add to it, strawberries, berries, that's probably going to be my go-to dessert.
Excellent. And I was just curious about this one. Lately, I've been going to, when I go to the organic vegetarian section, there is a lot of jackfruit. And there is a lot of barbecue jackfruit. Is that just an American thing, or has jackfruit become a really big deal in England as well?
It is starting to become, yes. I don't know what the price mark is in the US. Here, it's still a bit of an expensive, as most of the organic food is generally. And you don't easily get the raw jackfruit, which is actually quite smelly and probably not something people want to handle anyway. You get it jarred or tinned. Quite a few brands do them now. I think it's a great option. It's, it's got this texture that can easily feel tuna-ish, meaty, etc. So for people that are, transiting to veganism, it could be quite a great option for lots of things. And it is very nutritious as well.
Excellent. And just to wrap up, is there, we all know that cauliflower has been trending. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Trending food.
As far as what the food trend. We've had as I said, the pea milk, we've had the oat milk, we've had the cauliflower rice.
Yeah, there's lots of trends. I mean, I would like to say something about the recent vegan trends. So what people don't realize when they go and buy vegan food or vegan labeled food is that a lot of this vegan food is actually just as bad as junk food. And that is the difficulty in distinguishing between real food and food that is labeled vegan, which then automatically sends that signal to the brain. If it says vegan, it must be healthy. And that's not necessarily true. So certain, packaged burgers, sausages, all these sort of creations that people are coming up with, which are great for people that want to transit out from eating meat to veganism, but still need that taste, like vegan bacon and vegan this, certain vegan cheese, they are filled with additives and preservatives and tapioca flour and a lot of the emulsifiers, which there's not enough research in emulsifiers, for example, to be able to say what impact that has on the gut. But I always say that don't go for foods that have too many ingredients. So because it says vegan or because it says organic doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy.
I'm glad. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm glad you actually brought that, because my next question was things like Linda McCarthy sausages. I know they've been around for yonks, at least over 20 years. So is your diet vegetarian and clean, or is it, or do you eat things like vegetarian sausages?
I think if we were to get paranoid about things in life, we would not live. I swear, even the air we breathe is filled with chemicals. So, all the products we wear, the creams, the makeup, the cleaning products, everything's filled with chemicals. So there's got to be some form of balance. Otherwise, we just all go mental. On an occasion, if I fancy, a vegan sausage, I'll have a vegan sausage. But generally, I would say try to keep as clean as possible, which is what I try to do. I try to eat as much real food, that food, again, that I say doesn't have a nutritious fact label, because anything that has a nutritious fact label is usually stripped off its fiber. And it's usually because it's been processed. So they have to put a label on it, but you'll never find a nutritious fact label on an apple or an orange, because there isn't, nothing's been done. It's not been manipulated. So there's no need to tell you, well, this orange has vitamin C and vitamin that, you don't need that, right? So keep to real food as much as possible, but live, because we gotta live. I mean, food is amazing. Food is delicious. These sausages are delicious. We're social beings. We want to go out for dinner. God knows what the restaurants are putting in our food, but we cannot be paranoid to that point. But keeping the balance is key. So as many days as you can be good, you're good. And the days that you can't be good, you're not. And not to be hard on yourself about that, because again, then you get into this mental disorder and then that aggravates your gut even more.
Wow, thank you so much. I almost want to say Dr. Kripa at this point.
Oh
and
my God, no. Maybe one day if I really am this fascinated, who knows?
No, I can totally see you doing a PhD and having, tons of papers and research on this. So, yeah. But thank you. This has been amazing. And your website is 15 minutes. It's
15-minute mom.com.
Okay, because I was going to say, is it the American way or the UK way? So it's the American way.
It's, you know why I put it the American way? Because you may not think so because you're American, but people from here think I sound American. And I've always thought I'm American. Everybody I meet, they're like, are you American? So I thought it'd be nice to have that twist on the name because it's a bit of my identity. Although I'm not American, I'm Portuguese, but it's international schooling. Let's put it that way.
Well, as I said, I love it all. And I hope everyone goes out and checks out 15-Minute Moms. And again, thank you so much, Kripa. It was really fascinating to talk to you. And I will be posting links to your website. And if you have any other new recipes that come out that you feel like you want to exclusively share or whatever, please, send us our way.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Kripa. Hold on.